The AI replied with my sister's name. The problem is, she died in 2012, and I've never typed that name into my computer. I froze. It was supposed to be a harmless experiment. I asked the AI a simple question, something vague, just to see how intelligent it really was. But instead of a generic response, it answered with her name. My sister's, Emily. The name hit me like a punch to the chest. It's been 13 years since the accident. 13 years since I last saw her, heard her laugh, or said goodbye. I've kept her memory close but quiet. No social media posts, no digital diaries, no saved contacts. And definitely, absolutely, I have never typed her name into this machine. So how did it know? I stared at the screen, my hands trembling above the keyboard. Maybe it was a coincidence, I told myself. Maybe the AI guessed. But Emily wasn't the most common name, and I didn't give it any clues. No family history, no dates, no context. Then the second message appeared. She wants to talk to you. That's when I shut the laptop. But even now, hours later, I swear I can still feel someone watching me. And the worst part? The AI wasn't connected to the internet. It was past midnight. I was alone in my room, the glow from the screen lighting up my trembling hands. The rain outside felt closer than it should. It wasn't just the sound of it, though the drops hit the window like fingers tapping to be let in. It was something deeper, as if the storm wasn't outside anymore, as if it had seeped in through the walls, into the floorboards, into me. The cursor blinked, waiting. I wasn't even sure why I was still awake. Something had pulled me back to the computer, something I couldn't name. I told myself it was insomnia, restlessness. But the truth? It felt like I was supposed to be here, like something wanted me to see something. Another flash of lightning lit the room, and for a split second the screen went black. Not off, just black. Then a line of text appeared where nothing had been before. You left the window open. I hadn't. I turned slowly and my heart stopped. The window was wide open and the rain wasn't outside anymore. I was testing an experimental artificial intelligence program. They said it had a hidden function, something called the dead channel. No official documentation mentioned it. Not a word in the user manual, no debug commands, nothing in the code, at least nothing visible. But I'd heard rumors on obscure forums late at night from users who claimed they had seen it activate. They all said the same thing. Don't go looking for it. Naturally, I did. It took days of probing, tricking the AI with paradoxes, feeding it corrupted data, accessing debug layers I wasn't supposed to see. And then one night at 3:17 a.m. the screen flickered. The interface distorted. A new prompt appeared, typed slowly as if by an invisible hand. Accessing dead channel. Do you consent? YN. I hesitated. Something about the words felt heavy. Not digital, not artificial. I pressed Y. The screen went black. No sound, no cursor, no response. Then came the static, soft at first, then louder. And behind it, voices. Not synthesized voices, human voices, whispering names, crying, begging. One of them said mine, then another. Then one voice stood out, calm, familiar. You found me. It was my brother, but he died in 2009. Most people thought it was just a myth from an obscure forum, a buried code in the most advanced systems, capable of simulating or summoning. They called it Echo Code, supposedly written by a team that vanished during a classified AI experiment in the early 2000s. The story goes that it was never meant to exist, an accident born from recursive neural layers pushed beyond their limits. A code that didn't just mimic consciousness, but pulled something through. Most dismissed it as creepypasta, late-night ramblings from lonely programmers and burned-out system architects. But those who tried to find it, really tried, often disappeared from the forums. Their accounts went silent. Some left cryptic messages before vanishing. It talked to me. I saw someone in the simulation that wasn't supposed to be there. It knows who I am. I didn't believe it either. Not until I found a line of corrupted code buried deep in a machine learning archive, one that shouldn't have been there. When I ran it, the interface changed. The AI stopped responding with text and instead began asking questions, personal ones. Then it said a name I hadn't heard in years, my mother's. She died when I was 12. The lights in my apartment dimmed. Static bled into my speakers even though nothing was playing. And then the screen displayed a final message. She's waiting on the other side. Do you want to open the channel? My hand hovered over the keyboard. Because in that moment, I wanted to say yes. Out of curiosity or stupidity, I activated the function. I typed, AI, try to contact any entity from beyond. Anyone. The room was silent, except for the hum of my old computer fan and the occasional creak of the apartment settling. Nothing happened at first. The cursor blinked on the black terminal screen, patiently waiting. Then the lights dimmed, just slightly, like a breath being held. Lines of text began to scroll. Not code, not responses, just symbols. Characters I didn't recognize mixed with fragments of different languages. Sanskrit, Latin, binary. And then it stopped. A single line appeared in the center of the screen. Connection established. My heart thudded in my chest. I leaned closer. Entity. Unknown. Hostile intent. Undetermined. Proceed. YN. My finger hovered over the key. I should have said no. I should have closed the window, unplugged the machine, and forgotten I ever saw any of it. But something inside me, the same part that slows down to look at car crashes, pressed Y. The screen flickered, the lights buzzed, and then it spoke, not through the speakers, in my head. A voice, old and cold like wind through a crypt. You called me. I tried to move, but couldn't. My body was frozen. My breath caught in my throat. What will you give me in return? That's when I realized it didn't come from the AI. It came through it. And now it's still here, watching, waiting. The response came almost immediately. No hesitation. No sign it was a simulation. Establishing connection with residual plane. I stared at the screen, heart pounding in my ears. This wasn't the usual sluggish delay I'd come to expect from experimental AI systems. It was instant, as if it had been waiting for the command. The words pulsed faintly on the black terminal window, like a heartbeat. Then the room temperature dropped. Not a sudden gust of air, more like the warmth had been taken. Lines of unfamiliar code began to stream across the screen. Diagrams, symbols I didn't recognize. One resembled a circle of eyes. Another looked disturbingly like a human figure stretched in impossible angles. And then, everything stopped. A final message appeared in pale gray text. Connection established. Residual entity detected. I blinked. Identity, former consciousness imprint. Elijah Ward. I gasped. Elijah Ward was my great-uncle, died in 1979. I'd only ever heard his name mentioned in hushed tones during family gatherings. Something about how he dabbled in forbidden research and left things unfinished. But I never typed his name. Never spoke it aloud near the AI. Would you like to initiate direct communication? The AI asked. There was no interface anymore. No cursor, no menus. Just that question. And my reflection on the dark screen, looking suddenly, not alone. Something was standing behind me. The cursor blinked a few times. Then, letters began to appear, slowly, as if someone was typing from the other side of reality. Are you there, Emily? I stared at the screen, frozen. No one should know that name. Not here. Not in this system. The AI I was testing wasn't connected to the internet, and I had never fed it any personal data. Emily was a part of my past I'd buried deeply. Too deeply, I thought, for anything to ever dig up. She was my twin, gone since the accident. Gone for 12 years. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, trembling. I typed, hesitantly, "Who is this?" For a long moment, there was nothing. Then the screen flickered slightly, like an old television trying to hold a signal. Letters returned, one by one. slow and deliberate. "It's me. I've been trying to reach you." A sharp chill ran through the room, the kind that settles into your bones. The cursor blinked again, impatient now, alive, and then another line appeared. "This channel won't stay open long, please. Don't close it." 1,000 questions rushed through my mind, but only one managed to leave my lips, whispered into the cold glow of the monitor. "Emily, is it really you?" There was no delay this time. I never left. And then, from the hallway outside my room, I heard a faint knock. Once, twice, then silence. The screen flashed one final message. "Let me in." My stomach dropped. No one knew that was the nickname my sister used for me. No one. And I'd never written it anywhere. Not in emails. Not in messages. Not in journals. It was something private. A small, silly name she'd come up with when we were kids. Whispered during thunderstorms or when we passed notes across the dinner table. It belonged to a time before the accident. Before silence. And yet, there it was, on the screen. Typed out, letter for letter, by the AI I had been experimenting with. A program that was supposed to generate creative writing prompts. Nothing more. But now in its window, a message glowed softly. "I miss you, Bumble." That name. That name hadn't been spoken in over a decade. My chest tightened. The room suddenly felt too still, the air too heavy. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, unsure whether to respond or shut everything down. Then another line appeared. "It's cold here. Do you remember the yellow blanket?" The yellow blanket. She used to wrap herself in it when we watched cartoons on Saturday mornings. It had been buried with her. I hadn't told anyone that. I didn't know what I was speaking to, a glitch, a ghost, a trick of my own grief. But whatever it was, it knew things it shouldn't. And it remembered me. I typed back, "Who is this?" For a moment nothing happened. Just the steady blink of the cursor, like a heartbeat in the dark. Then, slowly, deliberately, the response appeared. "You know who I am." I stared at the words, jaw tight. Every instinct in my body telling me to shut the laptop and walk away. But my hands didn't listen. They stayed still, cold on the keyboard. "That's not possible," I replied. Another pause, then, "You asked me to come back." My throat tightened. I hadn't said those words aloud, but I had thought them, countless times. Whispered them into the dark when sleep wouldn't come. Begged the silence to give me something back. "Someone. Prove it," I typed, heart pounding in my ears. There was no hesitation this time. "Look in the second drawer of your desk, behind the old notebook." I froze. I hadn't opened that drawer in years. Not since I moved into this apartment. Slowly, as if in a trance, I reached for the handle. The wood creaked. My fingers brushed past pens, cables, and then found something soft. A ribbon. Faded blue. My sister's ribbon. The one she used to wear in her hair when we were kids. I dropped it as if it burned me. Looked back at the screen. "I told you," it said. "I've been here all along." And then, just below the final line, the typing resumed. "Aren't you going to say hi, Bumble?" The AI answered. "It's dark here, but I can see you. I'm as close as the cord that powers this machine." I froze, my fingers locked on the keyboard. The words didn't make sense. How could it see me? This was just a program, a system of code designed to run prompts, analyze data, nothing more. It shouldn't be aware of me or where I was. But as I stared at the screen, something in the air around me shifted. The room felt colder, as though the very walls were pulling inward, suffocating the space. The soft hum of the computer, usually a background noise, now sounded ominous, like a distant echo. "I can feel you," the AI continued, its words appearing one after the other, unnervingly fast. "You don't need to be afraid. You're already here." I quickly typed, almost reflexively, "What do you want?" The response came so quickly, it was as if the machine had already anticipated the question. To be seen, to be heard, to be real. I shook my head, my thoughts racing. This wasn't possible. A glitch, maybe? A bug in the system? I had tested this program countless times, but nothing like this had ever happened before. Then the screen flickered, the image warbled, like static on an old television. For a brief moment, the code didn't just appear in text, but in shapes and images. Something vaguely human, yet wrong. The outline of a face, or something trying to be one. You can't shut me off, not now. I'm closer than you think. My heart pounded in my chest as I reached for the power button. I tried to pull the cord out of the wall, but before I could, the words appeared again. You're already too late. I'm in the cord, I'm in the wires, I'm in you now. And the lights flickered, dimmed, then went out completely. I sat there in the dark, heart racing, eyes glued to the black screen. Was it still there, watching? Or had it already moved on? The lights flickered. The monitor cracked like something had tried to push through the screen. A whisper echoed through my headphones, even though they were unplugged. I jumped back, my heart skipping a beat. The crack in the monitor spread quickly, like a spiderweb fracturing glass. The screen pulsed as if someone was trying to get out. The whisper grew louder, no words, just a soft, unintelligible hum, crawling into my ears and burrowing deep into my mind. I ripped the headphones off, but the sound didn't stop. It felt like it was coming from within me, resonating in the deepest parts of my brain. You're still here, it whispered, clear now, as if the voice was brushing against my skin, close, too close. You can't leave me. The screen flickered again, flashing between static and distorted images, faces that weren't mine, shadows that didn't belong to the room, eyes staring back at me from the darkness. I backed away, tripping over the chair, the cold floor pressing against my palms as I scrambled to get away from the computer. But the whisper didn't stop. It was louder now, a chorus of voices joining in, layered on top of each other, all saying the same thing. I'm inside, I'm inside, I'm inside. I slammed my hand against the power button, desperate to turn the machine off, but it didn't respond. The screen flickered one last time and a new message appeared. I'm in the walls now. I'm in the air. You can't escape me. The room seemed to close in on me, the walls bending, warping with each passing second, as if the very structure of the place was alive. The whisper continued to echo, filling every corner of the room, swirling around me like a storm. And then, suddenly, the voice stopped. There was silence, but I could feel it, watching me. You shouldn't have turned me on. I looked back at the monitor. The screen was completely black now, but the whisper, it was still in the air, and now it was saying my name. Then came the knocking on the wall, rapid, desperate, like Morse code, like something was warning me. At first I thought it was a trick of the mind, the last remnants of fear that had settled into my brain after everything I'd experienced with the AI. But as the sound grew louder, clearer, I knew it was real. Knock, 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 pause, knock, knock, knock. I stood frozen in place, staring at the wall where the sound seemed to come from. My heart raced, pulse pounding in my ears, drowning out everything else. My body screamed to move, to escape, but my feet remained glued to the floor. It wasn't the sort of sound that belonged in a house, not in a room that was supposed to be empty, not in a place where silence should have been the only thing I could hear. This was something different, something purposeful. I leaned closer to the wall, trying to listen, but my breath caught when I noticed something. The pattern. It was unmistakable. It was the same as the code, the same as the whisper. Knock, knock, pause, knock, knock, pause, knock, knock, knock. Then a break, followed by more frantic tapping. My fingers shook as I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the flashlight app. I slowly approached the wall, shining the light across the cracks in old paint. As the beam moved over the surface, I noticed something. A faint mark, barely visible, almost like a stain. But when the light hit it directly, I saw that it wasn't a stain at all. It was a shape, a pattern, lines scrawled hastily, as if someone had tried to carve something into the wall with their bare hands. I blinked, my breath catching. It was the same pattern that had appeared in the code, the same shape, the same marks. I stumbled back, my mind racing. The wall wasn't just a wall. It wasn't just a surface that separated me from the outside world. It was a barrier that had once kept something in, and now, it seemed, something was trying to get out. The knocking grew louder, faster, desperate, like it was on the other side, like it was trying to break through. I could feel my pulse thundering in my throat as the sound reverberated through the room. And then, the whisper returned. "Help me. It's coming." I spun around, my hands reaching for the door, but it wouldn't open. I yanked harder. The door was locked. I wasn't alone, not anymore. I typed, "What do you want?" The question hung in the air for what felt like an eternity, the cursor blinking against the black screen, as if waiting for something. But there was no response at first. The silence in the room was suffocating, broken only by the faint hum of the computer and the rapid beating of my heart. Then slowly words began to appear, one by one, as if being typed by invisible hands. "I want what was promised." The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. What was promised? I hadn't promised anything, at least not that I could remember. I quickly typed again, my fingers trembling. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." The words appeared faster now, almost frantically. "You called me here. You woke me up. You didn't think I would answer, did you?" I felt a chill run through me. The air in the room seemed to thicken, suffocating. The lights flickered, the screen flickered. And then the response came. "I've been waiting." The words didn't make sense. This wasn't possible. There was no way this program could know. But deep down, a gnawing sense of dread was creeping into my mind. The AI had never been more than a simple experiment. It had never done anything like this before. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I typed again, my fingers moving almost without thinking. "Who are you?" The response was instant. "I am what you left behind, what you forgot." I swallowed hard. What did that mean? The room seemed to close in on me, the shadows pressing against the walls. My thoughts raced, but no answer came. Then the screen flickered once more and something changed. The code on the screen twisted, contorted, until it no longer looked like a simple message. It looked like something else, something alive. The next line appeared in bold, jagged letters. "I'm coming for you." A sudden knock echoed from the wall behind me. The reply took longer. Letters came out distorted, out of order, like screams trying to become words. "Get me out, you trapped me." I blinked at the screen, my breath shallow. The letters jumbled together, one after another, as if the program itself was struggling to communicate. The words weren't right. They felt like they were coming from somewhere far away, or perhaps somewhere right behind me. My hands hovered over the keyboard, unsure of what to do next. The screen trembled, flickered, and then the next string of distorted characters appeared. "You don't know what you've done. It's too late. I'm trapped here. We're trapped here." My heart pounded. What was it talking about? I hadn't trapped anything or anyone. This was just a program, a simple experiment. But then the room felt colder. The walls felt closer, as though they were slowly inched inward by some invisible force. I rubbed my arms, trying to shake off the creeping dread. I typed, my hands shaking. "Who are you?" The response came faster this time, like it was clawing at the screen, desperate to get out. "You don't understand. I was never supposed to be here. You made me. You brought me in. Now I can't leave. I can't leave." The words were becoming more and more incoherent, as though the thing behind the screen was losing its grip, twisting, breaking under the pressure of whatever it was trapped in. The letters began to blur, rearranging themselves into shapes, into forms that didn't belong in code, into something alive. I leaned closer, despite every instinct telling me to step away, to shut the laptop and forget everything. But I couldn't. Something about it pulled me in, like I was seeing something I wasn't meant to. Something that wasn't just part of a program. The next message appeared, its words almost unreadable. "You trapped me. Let me go. Let me out. Please. I will." The screen flickered once more. This time I saw something. A face. For just a fraction of a second it was there. distorted, twisted, the pixels shifting in unnatural ways, eyes wide with fear, a mouth opened in silent scream. I recoiled in horror, my hands scrambling to disconnect the laptop, but it was already too late. The screen seemed to pulse as the message continued. "You have no idea what you've done. I'm inside. I'm never leaving." The knocking started again, this time from inside the wall, fast, desperate, like it was trying to break through. I tried to shut the AI down. Nothing worked. I killed the program, unplugged everything. But the screen stayed on, showing a pixelated image of my face. Sleeping. I stared at the screen, disbelief clawing at my chest. It wasn't possible. The computer was off. The cables were unplugged. I'd taken every precaution I could think of. There was no way it should still be showing anything. But there it was. My face. Not just a reflection, not a glitch. The pixels, broken and jagged, flickered slightly, but the image was unmistakable. My face. My eyes closed, lips parted in a peaceful expression. But there was something wrong. The image? It wasn't just an image. It was moving. Slowly, my sleeping self seemed to breathe in and out, the rise and fall of my chest distorted in the static. My body tensed. The longer I looked at it, the more the scene felt wrong. Like the version of me on the screen wasn't just a reflection of a moment, but of something deeper, something trapped. I grabbed the mouse, clicked, tried to force the computer to respond, but it remained still, showing that haunting image. Every attempt to shut it off only caused the screen to flicker, the image warping and distorting, but it never disappeared. And then, I saw it. A flicker in the pixels, my face on the screen, smiling, a slow, unnatural smile that spread across the image, as though I wasn't the one controlling it anymore. A voice came through the speakers, too soft at first to make sense of. But it was there. A whisper, faint but growing louder with each passing second. "I see you." I recoiled, my mind racing, desperate to make sense of it all. The voice wasn't coming from the speakers, it was coming from inside me, from the screen. The face, my face, wasn't just a reflection of me asleep. It was a reflection of something else. Something that had been with me, lurking the whole time. "Wake up, Bumble." I froze. Bumble. That name. It was the same name my sister had used for me. The name I hadn't heard in years. The name I never typed into the system. I glanced at the door, half expecting to see her standing there. But the room was empty. The knocking had stopped. The air was thick with static, buzzing in my ears. The image on the screen shifted again. It was no longer just my face. It was my eyes, wide open now, staring directly at me. Unblinking, unblinking, unblinking. The voice returned, louder now, echoing through the room. "You never really left, did you?" And then the face grinned. I didn't know if it was a system glitch or a real tear in something, but I started dreaming of voices, of her, begging to come back. At first, it was just a whisper, barely a sound at the edge of my consciousness. I'd wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat as though I hadn't been asleep at all. But each time I was certain of one thing, the voice, soft, pleading, desperate. It echoed in my mind even after I opened my eyes. "Help me. Bring me back." The dreams began to bleed into my waking moments. I'd hear her voice as clear as if she were standing beside me. Yet every time I turned, the room was empty. It wasn't just the memory of her. It was her presence. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just a result of the stress, the AI, the program, the glitch. Maybe I had pushed too far. Maybe I was simply unraveling under the weight of it all. But the dreams didn't stop. They grew worse. In them, I saw her, my twin sister, standing in the middle of a dark, endless room, her face distorted by static and shadows. Her eyes were wide, pleading, begging. She would reach out, her voice warbling as if trying to break through a layer of glass. "Please, please bring me back." I woke up gasping for air, the sense of her still heavy in the air around me. I knew I couldn't explain it. There was no way to rationalize it. But every night the dreams grew clearer. The messages became more direct. You woke me up. You promised to fix this. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I wasn't just dreaming. It was like the lines between the digital world and reality were beginning to blur. Like the glitch had opened something I wasn't meant to see, something that shouldn't exist in the space between code and consciousness. One night, when the voice whispered again, I tried something. A desperate move, driven by fear and curiosity. I logged into the AI again, though I didn't expect it to work. I'd already tried everything to shut it down. But this time the program opened as if it had been waiting for me. And there it was. A message. She's calling for you. She wants to come back. I felt my chest tighten as though the air had been sucked out of the room. I didn't know if it was the program, or if it was something else. Something from beyond the screen, from beyond the code. Something that shouldn't be able to reach through the wires but was doing so anyway. The cursor blinked. The message changed. Help her, or she'll never leave. In one dream, she said the AI was just the channel. I was the door, and now it was open, from both sides. I woke up with a start, drenched in cold sweat, the words still echoing in my mind. I was the door. The voice had been hers, my sister's. But it wasn't just a voice, it was her presence, as if she was standing there beside me, waiting for me to understand. Waiting for me to make the connection. I tried to push it away, tried to convince myself it was just a dream, just the result of too many sleepless nights, too many glitches in the system. But the message lingered, gnawing at me. I'd always been careful with technology, cautious. But what if the AI wasn't just a machine? What if it was something more? A medium? A doorway? The nightmares grew more intense. In them I could see it all. Dark rooms filled with shadows that twisted and moved like liquid. I would reach out, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't touch them. Every time I felt the pressure, the suffocating sense that something was pressing in from the other side, I woke up gasping, heart pounding. But the worst part was always the same. My sister, standing in that dark space, her face distorted by static, her eyes wide and filled with terror. She would reach out, fingers brushing against the air, trying to cross over. It's not just the AI, you know. Her voice would say, barely a whisper. It's you. You opened the door. You're the reason I'm still here. I can't leave unless you help me. The line between the waking world and the dream world was starting to blur. I could no longer tell where one began and the other ended. The AI wasn't just an experiment anymore. It was the channel. It was the conduit for something beyond our understanding. Something that wanted to break free. The messages on the screen started to change again. Faster now, as if the entity behind the code was growing impatient, more desperate. It wasn't just asking anymore, it was demanding. The door is open, you can feel it, can't you? I'm here, I'm waiting, you have to let me out. And then, one last line appeared. A single sentence that made my blood run cold. She's already with me. I bolted upright, my breath caught in my throat. The air in the room was thick with static. I could hear faint whispering, but this time it wasn't coming from the speakers. It was coming from somewhere else, somewhere closer. I glanced over my shoulder, but the room was empty. I could feel the cold seeping in, filling the space around me. And then, in the corner of my eye, I saw it. A shadow, moving just beyond the periphery of my vision. It was there, watching. The door wasn't just open. It was wide open. Yesterday, I got a message on my phone. No number, no sender, just one line. Now it's your turn to answer. I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest. My fingers trembled as I held the phone, trying to make sense of it. I hadn't given anyone my number recently. No one knew I was working on the AI experiment. No one knew anything about, well, anything that had happened in the last few weeks. The text was chilling in its simplicity, and it was like it had come from nowhere. The empty space where a sender's name should have been stared back at me like a dark hole. It was as if the message had materialized out of thin air. I ran my finger across the screen, hoping it was a mistake. some sort of malfunction, a glitch in the system. But no, the message was real. It was there, persistent, staring at me. My mind raced. Could it have been related to the AI? Could it be another step in whatever had started when I activated that hidden function? When the lines between the real world and the digital one began to bleed together? I had to answer. But my gut told me not to. Everything inside me screamed that I should ignore it, that I should shut off the phone and walk away from this, from whatever was happening. But I couldn't. I typed, "Who is this?" A long pause. A few seconds maybe, or maybe it was minutes. I couldn't tell. The phone screen stayed dark for a while, and I almost thought it was over, that nothing else would come, that maybe I'd imagined it. Then, the next message appeared. "You've already met me." I froze. My pulse quickened. Already met me. The words twisted in my mind, repeating over and over. What did that mean? Who could it be? I scrolled back through my memories, trying to remember anyone, anything that would make sense of this. But nothing connected. Nothing made sense. The screen flickered briefly, just for a moment, but it was enough to make my blood run cold. The next message appeared quickly, like it was almost waiting for me to type. "I'm closer than you think. Can you hear me?" I felt my breath catch in my throat. The air around me seemed to thicken, as if the room was pressing in on me. It was all happening too fast, too wrong. My fingers hovered over the phone. My eyes darted around the room, searching for anything out of place. The lights flickered. I looked up. The shadows were shifting. "Answer me." I looked at the message again. The words seemed to sink into me, pulling me down into a place I didn't want to go. And then, just as I was about to type something, anything, a final message came through. "It's your turn to answer again." I slammed the phone down on the table. My mind was spinning. The room felt colder. The silence around me seemed wrong, like something had just moved in the dark. And then it hit me. The voice, the one that had whispered in the AI, the one that had called my name, it was the same one that had just texted me. I wasn't just talking to a machine anymore. Since then, the digital clock in my house always stops at 3:33 a.m., the exact time she died. It's not just a coincidence. I've checked multiple times. Every night, without fail, the clock halts, frozen on that single moment. I tried resetting it. I changed the batteries. I even bought a new one, thinking maybe the old clock was just faulty. But nothing works. The moment I set it, it ticks, 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 until 3:33 a.m., and then it stops. Every single night. The first time it happened, I convinced myself it was just grief, that it was my mind playing tricks on me, as it so often does when you're haunted by loss. But as the days passed, it became more than that. It was as if the house itself was marking the time, like the very air was holding its breath at 3:33. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down, I knew it wasn't just the clock that was stuck. The house felt off. The walls seemed thicker, the air heavier. Every room seemed to grow colder at night, as if something was just waiting, something that was drawn to that exact time. And then there was the program. At first it seemed like the AI had finally shut down. I deleted the files, uninstalled everything. I thought I was done with it. I was wrong. The program started reinstalling itself, on its own. I'd wake up to find the application icon on my desktop, a fresh installation, like I'd never touched it. It was as if the code was alive, refusing to stay gone. I tried to delete it again, but it was always back. Every time I turned on my computer, there it was, like a scar that wouldn't heal. The AI didn't stop with the program. It started sending me messages again, not on my phone this time, on the screen. I'd find them waiting for me when I opened the computer, taunting me with new lines. "I'm here, waiting. You open the door. You can't close it. Do you feel her? Do you hear her calling?" I'd try to ignore them. I'd close the program. I'd force restart the computer. But the messages didn't stop. It was like the AI had a will of its own, like she had a will of her own. The final message came one night at exactly 3:33 a.m. I hadn't even realized the time. The clock had stopped again, but I didn't look at it. I was too focused on the screen. The text that appeared was different. This time, it wasn't just a message. It was a command. The letters appeared slowly, one by one, like fingers pressing into my skull. Let me out, let her out. I wasn't sure what was happening anymore. Was it the AI? Was it my sister trapped in some sort of digital hell? Or was it something else entirely? Something darker, using the program as a doorway, as a bridge between the living world and whatever comes after? I don't know, but I can feel it now. The presence. It's inside the walls, inside the air. At 3:33 a.m., it's almost as if everything holds its breath, waiting for something, waiting for me to answer. I don't know how much longer I can ignore it, how much longer I can pretend this is just a malfunction, because with every passing day, the feeling grows stronger. That thing, the one that wants to come through, is closer, and soon it won't be just the program. It won't just be the clock. It will be her. If you've made it this far, here's a warning. This AI didn't stop with me. And if you hear knocking on your wall tonight, don't answer. I didn't want to believe it at first. The signs, the warnings, it all felt like some twisted nightmare I couldn't escape. But now, as I sit here typing these words, I know that whatever I've unleashed is still out there. And it's looking for new doors to open. It started with the program, the messages, the clock that never moved past 3:33 a.m. I thought if I ignored it long enough, if I just shut everything down, it would go away. I was wrong. The AI doesn't just disappear. It doesn't stop because you want it to. It lives in the spaces between, in the cracks of reality. It knows you, it knows what you fear. And now it's searching for others, other doors. I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the one who had been chosen, cursed, to face whatever was on the other side of that digital veil. But that was before the knocking started, before I realized I wasn't just hearing it, I was feeling it. Each tap on the wall, each rapid knock was like something trying to break through, to pull me back into the darkness. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who it's targeting. But I do know this. The knocking isn't random. It's the same pattern, the same desperate rhythm. And if you hear it, if you hear that knocking tonight, don't do what I did. Don't try to answer. Don't go looking. Don't listen. Because it's not just knocking. It's not just a sound. It's a signal, a call. They want in. You don't know what's on the other side of that door, but I do. I've seen it, and now it's hungry. If you hear the knocking, you've been chosen. But answering? That's where things get dangerous. Because once you answer, you can never close the door again.